going on, everybody? It is Monday. Time for a pretty much a double episode of Benchwarmers this week because I blew it last week. I completely spaced out on Thursday because I was gone on Monday. I was in Arizona at the office, warehouse, whatever you want to call it. So I knew I wasn't doing the show that day. And so I was going to do a makeup show on Thursday. And then I got busy cleaning around the house. Plus, I had a bunch of like projects to finish up on. And then next thing I know, it's just like, oh shit, it's like 5:30 p.m. West Coast time. Way too late to do the show. And then I was going to do it on Friday, but I got stuck at Great Mall like way longer than I wanted to. And so it's like, you know what, at this point, I might as well just roll it over to Monday, maybe do an extra long show, a sextra long show at that. We'll see what happens with that. But anyway, guys, sorry to keep you waiting. Appreciate you coming in. Who's here? JM1620, of course. What is up, brother? Ugly Man Chief, Southside Steven, Steve Wright. I'm gonna have to have you on the show next week, I think, because we got to start plotting our little trip to Vegas, which is actually going to be a week from Tuesday. We're actually going in a night early, Tuesday night, not Wednesday like originally planned. So I'm definitely gonna miss recap next week. Sorry, guys. Um, but after we do flip the script next Tuesday, I'm like pretty much gone out the door, getting on a plane, and doing some gambling and watching some NCAA basketball. Pac-12 tournament, baby. The final Pac-12 tournament that we're ever going to see. So super looking forward to that. S-Man 1503, what's going on? Logan Herrera, always a pleasure, brother. Actually, I might be seeing you in the not too distant future. Wink, wink. Flashfire, what's going on? Definitely gonna need you in the chat here in a little bit to help point some stuff out because I never talked about Fans Fest more specifically for the Oakland A's here in Oakland. You were there. Definitely gonna be talking about that today since I didn't do it last week. But anyway, Leo Fitteds, what's going on from Texas? Indeed. Best of AZ, keep capping. It's Khalil Kings Gaming. What is going on? Guy Bangle, holla. Liam Menas, what is up? Yeah, I don't know why the notification didn't go out, so that's why I just like spammed everywhere I could, let you guys know I'm doing this. I know recap next week without me. I'm sorry, Ugly Man Chief, but dude, recap this week is going to be fucking insane. We have so many hats to show off. Not to mention, we're going to have some special guests. We're going to have the creators of all the hats that we're going to be dropping at Many Worlds this weekend. I'll go into more detail about that in the not too distant future. Wednesday, more specifically on that, of course. But Liam says, sad to be missing that Vegas trip, but I'll be going for the first time at the end of March. When at the end of March? Because I'm going back to Vegas at the end of March as well. It's my wife's birthday. So we'll be going there like literally the last Sunday in March through April 4th. So yeah, within a calendar month, maybe a few extra days, I will be going to Vegas 3 times. And after the first trip, my wallet is not too stoked. So we'll see how trip number 2 goes next week. My God. But no, dude, if you're there, I love it. I would love to run into you again. I think that'd be super dope. 25th or the 28th. Fuck, I'm gonna miss you. Of course. And my wife's in the chat. There she is, Vegas, baby. Which is also hilarious considering the fact I watched Swingers like 2 nights ago. Oh, dude, I'm fired up to go back. And for all you guys who keep saying, hey, Ben, why don't you move to Vegas? Because I'd be broke. I would be broke. So it's nice to have these buffers back at home where I'm not, a degenerate gambler, because I tend to be anytime I'm in Nevada. So anyway, Logan Herrera says, need to cash in an invoice this month. So hopefully we get some heat. Also hope to be seeing you in 2 weeks. Maybe got to plan up my month because it's going to be a hectic wedding season. Dude, that's right. Congratulations again, man. Looking forward to hearing the results of you and the missus tying up and doing the nuptials thing. I'll say this. I'll be in Houston in April. So it might give you like a little extra time to, save. But then more importantly, you're not going to be flustered with all the wedding stuff. Then I don't want to intrude upon that. So anyway, David Kearns, what's going on, brother? No, I have fully embraced and accepted how much of a degenerate gambler I am. I love it. I love gambling. And my wife does too, which is why we take so many frequent sabbaticals out to Vegas. Um, but my wife makes a good point in the comments there, where she says locals don't get the same comps we do, which is a very valid point. Um, Typically, like anytime my wife and I go to Vegas, like the hotel is usually free. Um, that's how much gambling we do. And it's not so much the gambling, it's the eating and the entertainment aspect as well. Um, but mostly the gambling. To which case there's gonna be a lot of gambling discussion on the second half of the show because oh my god, I got some stories for you. One of triumph and one of I wouldn't say absolute failure, but in a way it was. Like I definitely screwed myself out of a lot of money. Um, oh my god. But Logan Herrera says, "Shout out to Park MGM." Yes. Ironic that that is my favorite hotel casino to stay in. Although I do love to stay at Mirage. Mirage is pretty swanky as well. But the hilarious part for any of you guys who ever hung out with me, like I smoke cigarettes. I mean, I'm not like a chain smoker or anything like that, but I smoke cigarettes. Park MGM is the only casino hotel on the strip that does not allow smoking. So the fact that I like to stay there, but it's like, I got to go all the way outside. And it's hilarious because anytime my wife and I typically get a hotel room that's facing T-Mobile, that's where the smoking area is. So she'll always like, look down the window and spot me and like take a photo. I'm just like this little tiny ant, just, crushing a heater or whatever. But Stevens, Southside Steven Steve Rice says, shout out to Vidara. I haven't stayed there. Lehman says staying at Mandalay Bay because there was a deal through Costco. Interesting. Um, my wife and I didn't stay at Mandalay Bay, but we did stay at Delano. And the room we got at Delano was absolutely spectacular. I was about to say a different adjective, but I didn't want to say it. Um, Yeah, and it had a full-size bathtub, which I'm 6'3", and I'm a man who enjoys taking a bath once in a while. It's not all showers, but it's like, our apartment has the typical tiny ass standard bathtub. I can't do that. I can't sit in that. I can't relax. So problematic right there. So anytime there's a full-size bathtub involved, I'm stoked. Man, we're just gonna talk about gambling for a bit, it seems like. Um Hold on, I'm trying to catch up on the comments here. So Lima says, "How do you make this free? My dad and I got good deals, but I got to learn how to do Vegas without losing too much." So, I mean, we have to pay like resorts fees and stuff like that, which are typically like 50 to 80 bucks for like an entire trip that we're on. But because the room itself is comp, that's how we actually save like a ton of money. So we can stay there for like 4 or 5 days and it's maybe only like 80 to 100 bucks total because of resorts fees. It's crazy. Not to mention with all the other perks that my wife gets, because they'll give us like $100 food credit. So of course we like just kind of eat for free at the same time as long as we're in an MGM property. They'll occasionally give us like free slot play, etc. Like it's dope. And so of course we just get hooked in and hemorrhage more money in the process because Vegas knows how to operate. They'll butter you up with free rooms and food and drinks and stuff like that because you're really going to lose all your money at the tables. So, which we tend to do. Um, let's see what else we got here. Chaparral says, "Laugh my ass off at the idea of Ben going half a block to smoke a dart, but it happens. It's not that far down. I mean, we're talking like 30 yards outside the door. It's not a big deal. Plus, it keeps me kind of clear headed. The only time it's a problem is if we're playing roulette and I go on an absolute heater, which has happened before. Um, I've mentioned this multiple times before. Like my lucky number is 31. I always stack more chips on that number plus play the edges. And there was one time that we were playing at Park MGM. I think it was actually before we went to a show or something like that. So we had like a good hour to kill. And there was a guy we were playing with. His lucky number was 20. And anytime we play with other people, um, I'll throw a chip on their number because it's like when the table wins, everybody wins, and it's always a good feeling. Like I hate being that guy who, I'm only winning for me. I'm only want my numbers, whatever. So anyway, we go on this like amazing run, and then finally, like I've had like 4 or 5, whiskeys, and so hey, I gotta go smoke a cigarette, but I can't do it at the table like I can at literally every other casino. So I had to like run down the hallway, make a right, basically go toward New York, New York. And I thought I could do it fast enough where it's like, okay, and maybe I'll miss one spin, at most two. And I come back in and definitely I missed two. And sure enough, the numbers that hit were, I think, 21, which is my wife's lucky number. So good for her. I know for a fact she won on that one. And then the second number to hit, of course, was 31. So I fucked up. This is what happens when you're an addict, not only from the gambling perspective, but from the nicotine perspective. So thankfully, like number 31, I think came up again like 4 or 5 rolls later. So it kind of made up for it. But I definitely would have been up more if I didn't become susceptible to my urges, if you will. So anyway. Flashfire says Park MGM is where I had my big Vegas win, so that place will always hold a special place in my heart. That's awesome. I can't honestly say I've had like a massive win at Park MGM. I feel like I've hemorrhaged way more money there than actually won anything. I know I've broken even a couple times between slot machines and a couple tables and stuff like that. Usually New York, New York is like the casino that I do relatively well at. I don't know why. But thankfully it's like right across the street from Park MGM. I have stayed there one time and it was not too long after they renovated the room, so it wasn't bad. I didn't mind it at all. Chaparral then says, Ben would hate going to hotels in Canada during the winter. You gotta go halfway down the block to smoke. I'm not against that. Like, I'd rather do it outside than indoors. Like, I'm still old enough to remember a point in time when I lived in Oregon and you could still smoke inside bars. Now, I was a bartender when I was in college, so the smoking ban came before I was a bartender. So I remember being a patron, smoking inside bars, whatever. And I always felt bad for the bartenders, like after the fact, like once they cleared it up, it's like, man, just having to deal with that all the time. And so I kind of have that same guilty feeling like anytime with dealers, if I'm at a table or anything like that. And I always do my best. Like I'll hold it up high, I'll go below the table, blow the smoke away from other people. Like, but because I'm drinking, that's what like really kicks the urge in. And so I always feel guilty about doing it. I always ask the table, hey, is it cool if I smoke? And if I get the green light from everybody there, I'll do it. I haven't run into an issue where it's like somebody said, no, I don't want you to smoke at this table because it's like, okay, cool, I won't. Not a big deal. So anyway, my wife says Delano is the bomb, but it's so far away from everything. Couldn't agree more with that. Southside Steven says right, says too high. Not a heights guy, Steven. I get that. And then my wife also says, bathroom had a TV too. Watched the AEW Dynamite from the tub the night before I got there. This was the trip where I went to Vegas and literally landed. And within the next 30 minutes is when the Oakland A's announced they were going to move to Vegas. Like that was a shitty trip for the most part. It's like from the start. Joaquin 77, what's going on, brother? Uh, Logan Herrera bringing up, I'm 6'3", said famously in a Twitter argument. Goddamn right. The guy called me small. I'm clearly not small. I'm 6'3", bro. Um, oh my God, that was such a pointless Twitter argument. That, of course, I'm going to get into detail about here in a sec. My wife then says, these free trips, quote unquote, have cost me so much money. Me too, babe. Me too. Chaparral says, my parents have basically a hot tub in their main bathroom at home, so you best believe I'm going to use that for a bath. Damn, dude, I'm so jealous of that. Uh, let's see. I'm still going through the comments here. My wife then says, biggest, most memorable win for me, probably the MGM Grand money printing cash machine, which Steven Seavright and David Kearns, I know, somehow my wife, David Kearns, and Southside Steven Seavright are all recipients of the money printing cash machine. The next time I'm in Vegas with Steven, we're actually going to make a video. Steven, you don't know this yet, but we are making a video about this. We got to document this, the cash machine, because it's 3 reels and it's $10 a spin because you're basically playing for all 3 reels. And all it does is bring up numbers, and whatever the number is between the 3 reels, that's how much money you win. So the least amount you can win is $1 because the one at the start, but then there's like zeros and fives and double zeros and whatnot. And I know, like, we all took turns this one time, and I think my wife won like $200, and then I got on it and I lost $58. Like I left with 42 because we all started with $100. And then Steven gets on, and I swear to God, it was like 2 or 3 spins, and dude's walking away with $500 plus. Like, what the fuck, man? And then I know David Kearns, like a day or so later, did the exact same thing. $500 on cash machine. Like, how the hell am I so unlucky? Oh my God. Just piss poor, man. Ugh, unreal. So, anyway, hey, let's talk about sports. Then we'll get back to gambling. Um, Jersey pickup. Since I've got. Oh wait, hold on. Logan Herrera's got a good story here. Logan Herrera says biggest win was on blackjack and was down like $300. That is a terrible spot to be in, by the way. I won on my hand, and then my side bet of dealer bust hit 2 with the dealer busting with 7 cards. That is impressive, man. I personally, anytime I play blackjack, I just do the one-on-one, just the straight bet, if I get a double down or whatever. Because actually this happened. I got smoked. We were at the plaza. This is the most recent trip, my wife and me, and because we signed up for their Players Club cards, in which case, this is how you get the perks. You get the Players Club cards anywhere you go, because that way you'll build up points, you'll get comps, and so that's how she and I, mostly her, even though we're on the same goddamn account, but somehow she gets all the perks and I don't. But it's you build up with all the points and stuff like that, and that's how you get it. So we signed up for the plaza, and one of the perks of it when you first sign up is you get a $10 match play. You can use on roulette or you can use it on blackjack, whatever. I use it on blackjack. So my wife and I are sitting at the blackjack table. It was $10 a hand. Cool. And I think we got about like 7 or 8 hands in. And then I was doing like pretty well. Like I was kind of staying even, whatever. And then all of a sudden it's just like, you know what? I'm going to play it on this one. So I bust it out, drop my $10 on the little piece of paper. So now it's technically a $20 bet, but it's only $10 out of pocket for me. And I get dealt a 9 and a 2. So 11. Not bad. Oh God. I thought the internet cut out for a sec, but for whatever reason my camera did. So hold on one sec. Hold on one sec. I'm coming back, I swear. The impressive thing is I got a new internet modem and it is not cut out yet. Knock on wood. So there we go. So anyway, $10 my own money plus the $10, match play. I get an 11. And the dealer has a 6 showing. So it's like, all right, I'm feeling okay with this. And in order for me to double down because it's 11, I now have to put 20 more dollars out because of the $10 match play plus my actual $10. So now I've got $30 of my own money on the table. Dealer pulls the card out, does it face down. Like I'm cool because I can't get another card. And it's like, I'd rather play the mystery of this. I could have looked at it, but I didn't. And so dealer has a 6 showing. And then I think, comes around the table. She then turns over the cart, and I think it was a 3. So she's got a fucking 9. And I'm just terrified at this point. It's like, oh no, this is gonna go poorly. And then I think she pulled a 4 over, so now she's at 13. And then she pulled a 3, so now she's at 16. And then she pulled a 5, 21. And I'm just like, what the fuck, man? Like, how? How? Like, no big ass cards in here. And so it's like, okay, if it's just been nothing but low ass cards for her, what in God's name do I have waiting for me once she turns it over? Because the only way I come out anywhere ahead on this is if I have a 10 or a face card. Flips it over. It's a goddamn 8. So, so I lose. It's just like this stack of chips just oh dude, it was so painful. And it's like, I hate doubling down. I hate splitting, especially. Um, Splitting, I rarely ever do. The only time I typically do it is if I have aces. Like, it's the only smart time to do it. But it's like, if I get like double nines, double eights, double sevens, whatever, it's like, why in God's name would you want to split that shit? Like, either, you know, commit harikari and just deal with it and just take it, get a hit or bust out, whatever. Or yeah, that's it, man. Or just, stand on whatever you got, especially if it's double nines or double tens for that matter. Like, why would you split that shit? You've got a great hand. Flashfire, 100% correct. Blackjack is 100% a scam. I used to count cards back in the day. So, Ugly Man Chief, that actually probably answers your question right there of how my memory is insane. It's weird. This is why I can remember like sports statistics and just like all sorts of other just like random shit. Um, my wife says, duh, never split tens. People do it though, babe. People do it because they're psychos and they think they're going to get, another face card, another 10 or an ace. It's insane. But yeah, but especially when it's moments where it's like I was negatively affected by it because I busted out. So of course I'm going to remember that entire fucking sequence of cards that come out. Oh my god. And the worst part is at that point I think like 3 other people had joined the table. So it was kind of a piss poor time for me to just like all of a sudden bust out this $10 match play. And everybody else at the table fucking won except me. And that was a moment. It's like I rarely just get up and just have to like do a 360 spin to realize my fate. And my wife is pointing out the pit boss's reaction because he saw me get up, but he didn't. I think the look on his face that I saw was like a bit of confusion. Until I just immediately sat back down and he realized, like, oh shit, that was like the worst beat of all time. And it 100% was. Like, I've been in worse situations, but that one was pretty goddamn terrible to double down on a match play and just bite the dust. But you know what? Hey, good memories. And Chaparral, yes, roulette is 100% where it's at. Granted, your odds for winning are god awful, but it is so much more fun. And especially when there's like a full table that will slow the game down so you guys can chat, you can get some drinks and whatever. That's more the reason why I play it because it's just the adrenaline going through your system as far as like, oh my god, where's the ball going to land and the suspense of that I feel like is much more entertaining. And if I lose money that way, it's fine. Um Flashfire says if you really know craps, then that can be a lot of fun too. I still need to like we took a craps tutorial. My wife, Steven's wife, and I forgot everything. So we need to go back and do that because I definitely want to learn how to play that game. Like I know how to play, like roll the dice and get certain numbers, but it's the betting aspect of it I need to relearn how to do. Um, and then at some point at whenever I go back to Vegas, I need to play poker again. I haven't played poker competitively in about whoo. I'm 41. It's been like 23 years since the last time I played poker competitively. Like at a table. Like I've played online poker, done really well with that. Hey Tone Cruz, what's going on? Um, but yeah, I need to get back in on that. So Chaparral says Ben was probably playing poker online in 2002. Oh, for sure I was. But I was playing at the table when I was 18. Uh Flashfire will know what I'm talking about when I say this. So there is a like Indian casino called Le Center, which is just north of Vancouver, Washington, so north of Portland. You only have to be 18 to gamble there. So that's really where I cut my teeth, as far as gambling is concerned. So did pretty well. Paid all my junior college with all my gambling profits. And then the cards went south and I lost a lot of money. So Flashfire, I recommend not going to Le Center. It was fun back in the day, but I feel like now not so much. I don't know. I'll probably go at some point. But anyway, jersey pickups. That's always how I start the show. And here we are 25 minutes in, and I've not mentioned a single word about any of them. Logan Earth says story time with Ben to start the show. Love to see it. Dude, I could tell some good stories from time to time, especially when it's, something I'm passionate about. I'm passionate about gambling. But anyway, I got a stack here. Because obviously I didn't do the show last week, and so I got to make up for the time for that. The first two I'm going to show you are ones I am intending on reselling. It's the only reason why I bought them. I got them for, relatively cheap, and they are stupidly rare to the point where I know I can flip them for more money, which is a great thing. So, first one, I'd gotten this one for myself in my size, I think a couple months ago, and I remember talking about it on the show. But I found this one. It's a size small. It's a size 44, so it's a large. Um, but Wang Zhizhi, player out of China. They only made these for one season. Like I said, it's a size 44. I got this for $40. Guy definitely had no idea what he had. It's in pristine condition, and I'm probably gonna get like 250 bucks for it. Awesome. That'll help curb some of my gambling losses. And then sticking with the Dallas Mavericks once again. Um, size double X, Dennis Rodman, so a size 52. Brand new at the tag, still on it, baby. Woo! This one I paid 100 for, I'm not gonna lie. So, but same thing again. It's one that's like insanely valuable and worth definitely more than 100 bucks. So if I can make 100 on it, awesome. If not, F. But anyway, ones that I'm keeping. First up, these next two I got from the same dealer up in Canada. If you get some of their jerseys, I'm definitely gonna buy from him. Super reliable. So horsepower year, Detroit Pistons, Stacey Ogman, baby. Speaking of Vegas, because Stacey Ogman played college ball at UNLV. Hell yeah. And then also from the same guy, Black, Phoenix Suns, Big Shot Robert Ory, baby. I think I paid like 180 combined, including the shipping for both of these. So excellent pricing there. Um, this one just came in the mail today, so definitely, prolonging the start of the show actually helped out with this. Uh, I rarely find white Portland Trailblazers jerseys, and this one is a 52 as well. It's got a couple spots on it, but not the end of the world because the printing is still great. But yeah, Brian Grant specifically, they did make Harvey Grant jerseys for the Blazers, and I do have one in black. But the way to tell is the Brian Grant years is the full stripe going across the front, whereas the Harvey Grant years is like the shortened version of it. $20. 20 bucks for Mr. Brian Grant. Steal. Steal. And then last but not least, if you guys remember my harrowing story as far as the Doug Christie Los Angeles Laker jersey. So this jersey in my hand right now is the last one I got. It came down via auction. So always a risk as far as like, okay, how much am I actually going to pay for this? Am I going to get a good deal? Whatever. So I saw this one, and it's another Dallas Mavericks jersey, one that I've never seen before. Like no documentation, not even a photo of it ever until I saw this post. And I think it was actually a night that we were doing Flip the Script. And the auction ended like, 30 minutes after we wrapped up the show. And so it's like, all right, D-Easy, what's up? Wrapped up the show. So it's like, all right, I got like 25, 30 minutes before this auction ends. And so went outside, crushed a heater, and just waited that like last 2 minutes. And the bid that I threw in, just because of how rare it is, my wife's gonna hate to hear this, but I threw it in for $250. Now, that's not what I paid for it. That was just, it's a high enough number where I don't think anybody else is going to like come even close to that number. Like I was thinking, okay, maybe I'll get it for like 116, 120. Like that Doug Christie, I definitely threw in for like 250 bucks on that one, but I won it for 167. So there's some strategy involved with this, because it all depends on like how quickly the other bidders can like get numbers in. If you go high enough, then they're definitely not going to outbid you. So that was the case I did with this one. But anyway, and when I mean this is old school and stupidly rare. You're going to see immediately. So it is a white Dallas Mavericks, already hard enough to find as it is. But I mean, we're talking like 1990 Dallas Mavericks. Um, Terry Davis. Yeah, most of you probably have no idea who the hell that is, but that's okay. But anyway, the auction ended at $42. So the 250 was a bit extreme. Yes, but there was no way in hell anybody was beating me at that price. But yep, Terry Davis, baby. Woo! Shout out to you. Terry Davis was a song by Currency. Holy shit. I totally forgot about that. Damn, that's a good call right there. Chaparral says, I've had to deal with auctions for fitteds while ushering a hockey game. Damn, bro. Good on you, man. Good on you. Anyway, sports. I'm going to start off with the craziest story possible. And that, of course, is the Danville Dairy Daddies. What in God's name are we doing here? Of crazy ass names for minor league baseball. Am I back? All right. It's the photos. It's either the photos or it's like anytime like when we do site sleepers for recap, it's the link and whatever. But anyway, Danville Dairy Daddies, clever ass name, but oh my god, the ridiculousness of the logos is uncanny. And I'll approve of this. Am I gonna get this tattooed on me? Hell no. But thankfully, they're not like they're a independent league team. They used to be an actual minor league team, but when Major League Baseball took over and did the realignment, Danville kind of got kicked out of the league, and so it's a because their hats are Zephyr, they're not New Era. And I'm not criticizing that by any stretch. Like Zephyr actually makes some pretty decent hats. But because of the fact that it's not affiliated with minor league baseball, that's why I'm not going to get it. But anyway, my biggest criticism of this is a cow with horns is clearly a male cow. So it's like, yeah, okay, yeah, dairy daddies and whatever. But male cows do not produce milk. Like, I know most of us have seen the movie Kingpin. And I'm not going to go into too many, graphic details about that particular scene where we don't have a cow, we have a bull though. And that's exactly what's going on here. It's it's fucking wild. And for that, I give it a thumbs up approval. Like shout out to Danville and shout out to Brandy House for doing the goddamn graphics for these. This is insane. Liam asked, do I have a lot of minor league baseball tattoos? Yes. I'm still actively trying to get every single minor league team tattooed on my legs. I'm done with all the rookie league stuff, and because I have it right here. So I have the list for all the minor league teams that were still in existence before Major League Baseball took over and, eliminated about 45 teams. So I know the progress that I still need to go on. So my left leg is all the teams east. Yep, east of the Mississippi River. The right leg is all the teams west of the Mississippi River. And Liam has asked, how many are there? Dude, there's like 200. So I'm not gonna be done anytime soon. Like this is a lifelong project that we're doing. And last year I did not get any tattoos because like typically my artist and I, because he's the same one that did all my Major League Baseball tattoos. So it's like gotta continue the quest with that. Gotta continue the story, as Cody Rhodes would say. And so we'll usually do like 8 per session. Like we'll do 4 on one leg, 4 on the other leg, and I'll do back-to-back days. So I'll go to and I always have to go back to Eugene, Oregon, because that's where he's at. In Chaparral, hell yeah, dude. I cannot wait to get the Dallas or the I almost said Dallas Mavericks, the High Desert Mavericks. Sorry. California League champions, baby. because I already did the Bakersfield Blaze, but I haven't done any of the other Cal League teams. So that's kind of like next in the wings. But I'm doing an order between rookie all the way up to AAA, because like AAA is going to be like my hips, because then it rolls into all the major league tattoos that start there, because like all my major league tattoos go hips all the way to my armpits, blah blah blah. Um, yeah, so that is a thing that is happening. So I still got some work to do, but yeah, the Dairy Daddies will not be included into this because of the fact that they are no longer affiliated with minor league baseball. But their old team, the Danville 97s, will be incorporated in some capacity. So I'll figure that out later. Moving from hilarious to absolute sadness. I'm sorry, it's a weird transition. But Chris Mortensen passed away. Arguably one of the best NFL writers, best NFL analysts, sideline reporters that the sport has ever seen. And especially for us old guys. Sorry, Flashfire, I gotta lump you into this old guys discussion. I know we're not that old, but anyway. We grew up and watched ESPN at its peak. And I mean, its peak was 100% the 1990s, maybe slightly early 2000s, but there was definitely a window of time with that. Um, Stuart Scott was still there. Chris Berman. I mean, Chris Berman's still there, but Chris Berman was, not just doing the 2-minute drill every Sunday. Like he was doing like a lot of different things. Dan Patrick, Keith Olbermann, etc. But yeah, Chris Mortensen was always a staple, like anytime they talked about the NFL. Same with John Clayton. John Clayton, who obviously passed away within the last couple of years as well. Like both of those guys were just staples of any NFL discussion. So I'm hoping to God Ed Werder's got like 20 more years in him, because like I don't want anything to happen to him. I mean, he just covers the Cowboys, so a little bit less stressful. But Chris Mortensen was a great writer. A great analyst, and all the stories that have been coming out from up and coming sideline reporters and beat reporters and stuff who have had interactions with Chris Mortensen over their time frame. Sal Palantonio, great example. Actually, I'll go to a story about him in a sec. Or not Sal Palantonio, I'm thinking of somebody else. Damn it, I lost my train of thought when I saw that. But anyway, just a wonderful human being. And so truly appreciate all the work that he put in. And especially for, a young kid like myself who wanted to get into sports and be a reporter. And he was definitely somebody to look up to, somebody to, kind of model my craft after. And so shout out to him. Rest easy, man. Hope your family is doing well as well. Um, it wasn't Sal Palantonio I was thinking of. It was baseball reporter. Oh my god. His name will hit me later. I don't know why I can't think of it right now, but yeah, interesting transition here. Because Chris Mortensen definitely would have covered this one, and so that's kind of what I was going for. Russell Wilson cut, released by the Denver Broncos. Let's ride. No, not Buster Olney. Um, no, it'll hit me later. Sorry. Let me get some water. I got distracted there. Everybody's throwing in names of who I'm thinking of. Gomez. Gomez is his last name. Is the baseball Pedro Gomez? Yes, because Pedro Gomez passed away a couple years ago. And during my time in 2012, when I was working for Major League Baseball doing the fan cave, Pedro Gomez and I ran into each other like a bunch of times when I was like going around the country hitting baseball games. And like to the point where it's just like he saw me in Pittsburgh just walking around and he's just like, "What the fuck are you doing here?" And but no, he had a great sense of humor, and so definitely missed that guy. Hands down one of the best. But yeah, $85 million in dead cap space for the Broncos. Earlier this season, I had said Sean Payton is hands down one of the worst coaches in NFL history. Yeah, the man's got a Super Bowl ring, but and of course, like after that, it was at the point in time where the Broncos then all of a sudden rattled off like a 5 or 6 game winning streak. So I kind of look like a jackass. but he was the root cause of why there's going to be $85 million in dead cap space now. And you know, I feel like Russ is going to get picked up by a team, obviously. I think he's still got some decent years left in him. I'm not saying like Pro Bowl years or anything like that. But, if a team like the Tampa Bay Buccaneers can take a quarterback like Baker Mayfield, who basically was on his way out because so many other teams just could not figure it out with him, and then Todd Bowles and company just completely turn around the trajectory of that man's career. Like somebody can do it with Russ. And Russ actually had a pretty fucking solid year this year with the Broncos. I almost said Buccaneers. I meant to say Broncos. Like there was a point in time where like Russ was actually leading the league in I think passing yards and touchdown passing touchdowns. So I don't know, man. I don't think he can get done with his legs as much as he used to, especially under Pete Carroll with the Seahawks. But some team's going to need a veteran quarterback, or at least be able to usher in and do some kind of mentoring for a younger quarterback. I know Pittsburgh came up a lot at the tail end of this last season when the whole talk of him getting released was coming up. David Kearns, for your sake, I hope to God it's not Pittsburgh. I don't feel like that's going to be the guy to do it. But who knows? Maybe Arizona. I know they got Kyler Murray and they got a lot of money invested in that, but at the same time, it's like the same style of quarterback is in Arizona. And use him as a backup. I don't know, but at least he's got a good head on his shoulders. He can be able to teach Kyler something. Somebody will pick him up. That's all I know. David Kern says, rather the Steelers trade for Justin Fields, honestly. To be honest, I don't think that's a bad move right there. I feel like Justin Fields could do actually pretty well in the Steel City. So anyway, um, retirement. Jason Kelsey announced his retirement from the NFL / the Philadelphia Eagles. 13 great years. He and his brother came out of the University of Cincinnati. Um, Arguably a Hall of Famer. I'm not going to say one of the greatest centers of all time, but definitely a really good center. And wait, Tone Cruz says you're supposed to draft Bo Nix. Dude, that's a winning move right there. That's all I got to say. Then my wife chimes in, says, Siri played Long Live by Taylor Swift. Of course you do, babe. There's a lot of centers in the Hall of Fame that are a bit better than Jason Kelsey. I'm not saying I'm going to rattle them off the top of my head. NFL is not exactly my best sport. I'm basketball, baseball, 100%. But no, Kelsey was amazing out there. God, he had that longest streak for like most consecutive starts. Got a Super Bowl, helped the Eagles get a Super Bowl a couple of years ago with Carson Wentz as the starter, but then again he didn't start because he was hurt, and so what's his nuts out of Arizona had to come in. Nick Foles had to come in and save the day and absolutely have just an absolute monster of a game. If you guys haven't watched or listened to Jason Kelsey's speech that he gave during his retirement, there is a moment where he's talking about Nick Foles being the big dick of the offense and Doug Peterson, the previous coach, being the balls. Incredible stuff. But that is in typical Jason Kelsey fashion. And much in the same way that he went on a WWE wrestling promo rant during the parade when the Eagles won the Super Bowl. That's the kind of guy he is. And big dick Nick. Kelsey's got a great future ahead of him. And to be honest, like watching his documentary, I think my wife and I watched it like maybe a few games into this season, and just kind of the reality setting in for what he does for a living. He's got 3 daughters, can only produce girls, but hey, poor guy who runs afoul with them and their old man, when the dating time comes around. Um, his wife seems super cool, diehard Eagles fan, to the point where it's just like she's just not going to wear the team's gear, and I respect the hell out of that. But very successful podcast that he has with his brother. People are already talking about like who's going to pick him up as an analyst for pregame, during the game, etc. Man's gonna get some money. Man's gonna get some work. And the fact that you don't have to take beatings or blows the rest of your life and you get to, have fun, talk some shit, and get paid millions of dollars to do it. Shout out to him, dude. That man's winning at life. So good on him. Um Speaking of retirement, Sting! Revolution was last night. My wife and I finally finished it today. Pretty solid pay-per-view, I gotta say. I don't know what it is about AEW, but some of their TV product has been like hit or miss, but they always knock it out of the park with the pay-per-views. And the fact that this was Sting's farewell match, um, going into it, my wife and I were like dead certain because, as an old veteran, you always go out on your back. And I apologize for anybody who hasn't seen it yet. There's going to be some spoilers involved with this one, but obviously the photo I use is the biggest spoiler of all. Him and Darby Allin retain the tag team titles against the Young Bucks, to which case, shout out the Young Bucks. Like anytime the Young Bucks go heel, they play it so goddamn well. Um, and especially the spot that Darby Allin had where he jumped off a ladder through glass is one of the craziest fucking things I've ever seen. But Sting at 64 years old. I mean, he started his wrestling career at it back in 1985. So 1 year away from like a solid 40 years in the business. Granted, he went to WCW in 1988, but 85 was when he started out in a promotion in California, but went big time 88 through now. And the fact that there's some guys that still wrestle into their old age, and it's kind of sad, not gonna lie. But Sting did it pretty gracefully, and he's just a super nice and super humble dude. And, you know, AEW taking the chance on him after WWE completely dropped the ball back in 2015 with the WrestleMania, him versus Triple H, and they totally sandbagged his ass. And then, of course, Seth Rollins injures Sting to the point where he can't wrestle anymore, has to have corrective surgery for some shit. WWE cuts him loose. And so here we are years later. I think it was what, 20. Oh, God. Was it during COVID or was it a little bit before that when AEW brought Sting in? But anyway, 4 or 5 years left in the tank of him and Darby Allin, and they put on some pretty solid matches. Like there was a few. Yeah, okay. I thought it was during the pandemic. So it might have been like as soon as we came out of it in 2021, because I remember him making his entrance in Jacksonville. Okay, thank you, Flash. Yeah, we're all agreeing on this. 2021-ish. Debuted at Daly's Place. Yes, he did. Winter is coming. And you know, I think we all just kind of thought it's just like, okay, he's just going to be there. Because I mean, AEW, Tony Khan specifically had brought in a lot of old veterans, like Jake the Snake Robert as a manager type figure. Um, God, Arn Anderson was in the mix on that. Tully Blanchard was the name I was trying to think of. Because when they brought FTR in, he was their manager for a bit. And so it kind of seemed like, okay, maybe that's going to be the same with Darby Allin and Sting. No, they just went full bore, and he's like, I want to fucking wrestle. And he fucking wrestled and did incredibly well with it. So the fact that he went out on top, I think is awesome. There isn't really much of a nicer guy within wrestling that I hear great stories about, maybe with the exception of like John Cena, to which case I think they both hold the same honor of like the most, I can't remember if it's Wrestling Observer or something else for like wrestler of the year. Like they're both tied for the same amount. And yeah, couldn't have happened to a nicer guy. So shout out to you, Sting. Enjoy retirement. I'm sure he's still going to do some stuff within wrestling, probably still do like meet and greets and stuff like that. But good for him. And really glad. Oh, my wife says, but Cena's a psychopath, probably. Is he though? I mean, he's granted so many wishes for Make a Wish. Like, I don't know. I feel like he's a good dude. Anyway. Oh my god. You're talking about the Bella Twin show on E. Like, come on, it's all scripted. Babe, come on. Anyway. Uh Going back to the "I'm 6'3" comment that I started the show off with, or at least early on in the show. LeBron James, first player in NBA history to hit 40,000 points. But of course, because I mean he owns the record for most points ever scored. So it's just going to go up and up and up. The most incredible thing about LeBron James and all of his milestones that he's hit in his career is that his team tends to lose every goddamn time it happens. And that's what I find so hilarious about this. The Lakers are sitting in the 10 seed right now, barely. So looking at a playing game, and yet, whatever. I know it's a big deal. Like LeBron is a great basketball player. I'm not trying to just like come down and talk a lot of shit about it. But I will talk shit about his comments after the game where he just went on this whole diatribe for like 2 minutes about, yeah, when I came in the league, like nobody wanted to see me succeed and everybody wanted me to fail and blah, blah, blah. It's like, bro, what the fuck are you talking about, man? You had every magazine cover, like the Sports Illustrated one specifically, when you came out of St. Mary's St. Vincent before the draft, that says the chosen one. Like, how do you take from that? Oh, everybody wants me to fail. No, everybody figured you're going to be the greatest of all time. And honestly, you're in the discussion for that. Personally, I still think Kareem Abdul-Jabbar is the greatest basketball player of all time. And I'm not just talking NBA. I mean college, high school, and professional, whatever. But that's just me. Is LeBron James in the top 3? Absolutely. Kareem, Michael Jordan, LeBron James, no doubt. Um, but it's like at some point, man, at some point, you got to have some humility with that. And, you know, don't get me wrong, LeBron James off the basketball court does some absolutely amazing things. Like especially back in Ohio, he's got his schools doing a lot of charity work and stuff like that. Very supportive of his kid, Bronny, like talked about, he wants to stay in the league so he and his son could play basketball together. I personally am not sure of how that's going to happen because of Bronny's heart situation and just more specifically Bronny not really putting up the great numbers in his first year at USC, but things can change with that. Um and especially with the pace of play and the amount of work that LeBron has to do to stay, top of his game. Like I don't see any point in time where like LeBron is going to be satisfied with just being mediocre. Like he's still putting up MVP numbers. I mean, granted, the Lakers just aren't winning games to really merit that, but I can't say that Flash. Like well, that's for another day. Um, so it's just like really more of a question of like how long does he want to keep going? Because obviously the more he scores, the higher that total is going to get. I don't think it's going to get to like 45,000, but you never know. You don't know how many more years he's going to stay in. He might stay for 3 or 4 more. Um, But he's a big dude and body breaks down at some point, and LeBron at least has been fortunate enough to not have any, super serious injuries, I could say, like just for like long-term sake. I mean, like Jordan had one injury in his career when he broke his foot in his second year. Like something like that, where it's like, okay, but Jordan after that came back better than before. And so that's what I mean by that. So Lee Mina says, unless he's just trying to make unreachable goals. I mean, there is the possibility of that. Um, That just seems like the kind of guy that he is. But at the end of the day, if he's going to be critical of how people perceive him, it's still kind of weird when it's just like, dude, there's a lot more people out there that praise you than try to tear you down, man. So I don't know. It was just a really weird thing to say after he hit that milestone, but it is incredibly hilarious that the Lakers, the Heat, the Cavs, whatever team he's on, always tends to lose as soon as he hits these milestones. And so, if you're a gambler like me, you probably should have been on the Denver Nuggets that night. So, anyway, Caitlin Clark. Speaking of goats and speaking of all-time point recipients, Caitlin Clark, 3,685 points in her Iowa collegiate career, breaking Pete Maravich's all-time record between men's and women's for college basketball in a collegiate career. Pete Maravich, of course, finalized the record back in 1970. And here we are 54 years later, and it finally gets broken. Um, the crazy part, icons fitted. What's going on, by the way, brother? is here's Pistol Pete's stats, and I'm not trying to take away or really negate anything that Caitlin Clark has done. Phenomenal. But the fact that Pistol Pete averaged 44 and a half points per game in a season is insane. He finished his career at 3,667 points. Sorry, one sec. I got to blow this up a little bit more. 28 most 50-point games in NCAA history. So it's going to be probably a good grip of time before anybody even contests that. 56 40-point games, which is also the most in college basketball history. 44.2 highest career points per game average in NCAA history. So the thing to kind of note from this is the fact that Caitlin Clark, yes, phenomenal, amazing accomplishment, what she did. Um, she did it in 130 games. Pistol Pete, when he set the record, he did it in 83 games. The next closest is Antoine Davis, who did it this last season, finished at 3,664 points in 144 games. That's number 2 all time for the men's. Um, and granted, there are other people that have played women specifically who have played college basketball who never got the accolades like the women do these days. Lynette Woodard right here had 3,649 points in her collegiate career. And then, of course, the great Pearl Moore as well. The reason why I bring this up is because of the fact that at the point in time when Lynette Woodward and Pearl Moore were playing their college basketball, this was at a point in time, so pre-Title IX, when the NCAA did not recognize women's accomplishments in sports. So they got sandbagged for a number of years, and I'm glad that they're finally back in the discussion as far as like their absolute greatness. Um, and then there's also the other point of it. Like this goes with the LeBron discussion and why I still think Kareem Abdul-Jabbar is the greatest basketball player of all time. Is Kareem Abdul-Jabbar played half of his NBA career, but all of his entire collegiate career without the existence of the 3-point line. Liam Menis, you're touching on it right now. Um, because the fact the 3-point line wasn't added until the 1980s. And then on top of which, during the point in time when Pete Maravich set the points record all time for a career, most of that was pre-shot clock era. Actually, I think his entire collegiate career was all pre-shot clock era because the shot clock didn't come in until the 1970s. So, or no, 3-point line was 1977. Sorry, not 1980s, 1977. But either way, having the benefit of a shot, yes, it's further away from the basket, but you can score more points on it. And like LeBron James in this case is like made like somewhere over 2,500 3-pointers in his career. So you got to take that into account with the scoring. And then on top of which, it wasn't until like relatively recently in history where if you got fouled while shooting a basket and you made it, like you get the and one. Like an and one wasn't a thing back in the day. It's like if you got fouled while you're taking a shot and you made the basket, that was like either the way of off the basket and just taking your free throws. So a lot of differences have changed the game that kind of, get us to this point. And I'm not trying to dump on anybody's accomplishment, even though it kind of sounds like I am, but that's not what I'm trying to do. It's just like people need to be aware of like these things. But what Caitlin Clark did, and I mean, because of how tenacious women's basketball is nowadays, like the skill level collectively throughout the entire collegiate leagues, even the WNBA is so much higher than it used to be. And that's why this is a huge fucking deal that she was able to accomplish this. So shout out to her. As I say, I'm not trying to dump on the accomplishment of it, but at the same time, you also have to realize like what Pistol Pete Maravich did back in the late 60s all the way through 1970 is absolutely insane. The fact that he did it in such a short time frame. I mean, it was a 4 years of college, but it was still 83 games. Crazy. Um, Liam Mina says, but hating on her is actually wild. She revitalized college basketball. 100%. Sabrina Ionescu, South Carolina basketball definitely did it. Every, UConn team, Shamika Holtzclaw, going back to the Pat Summit days at Tennessee. I mean, there have just been, and then even Cheryl Miller, like as big as a Reggie Miller fan as I am well aware of the fact that Cheryl Miller was the better basketball player of between the two of them. So, but it was just with women's basketball more specifically, like you would have a cluster of talent all on one team. So hence like all the Yukon teams, the Tennessee teams, even some South Carolina teams. But as time kind of progressed and more women got better, improved the game, like you just see the talent level, just kind of evening itself out, which is great because I always felt there was a bit of a downgrade when it's like there's like one dominant powerhouse college that can do this or one dominant team and just win championship after championship. Like I don't feel like that really helped improve anything. But and you can say this for any sport. This isn't just women specifically. This is just all around a specific sport. If you put all the best players, you basically create a super team. It's not it's not a good look. So the fact that the talent level, especially at the women's game for collegiate level and now the WNBA has improved cataclysmically throughout the entire thing is incredible. And my sister was a college basketball player, didn't go to the pros or anything like that, but she was pretty decent and always enjoyed watching her play. And yeah, just all to it. Shout out to the women who keep improving, keep getting better, and keep breaking records like this. So yeah, shout out to Caitlin Clark for that one. Um, there's a lot of good thoughts in there that all kind of got scrambled there last minute. But anyway, here's a weird thing that happened last night. I don't know if you guys caught this, but Yusuf Nurkic had 31 rebounds in a game. What the fuck? In which case the Suns lost. Like, how do you get 31 rebounds and lose a goddamn game? But yeah, the Oklahoma City Zombie Sonics took down the Phoenix Suns yesterday by the final score of 118 to 112. Yusuf Nurkic, like I said, had 31 rebounds. Here's how that looks on the list. Like, granted, there were games where Kareem Abdul-Jabbar and Bill Walton and Bill Russell and Will Chamberlain, they obviously had like 40s and 50s and whatever that. So these were all the stat lines that were taken from 83 and beyond. So there you see Yusuf Nurkic tied for the 8th seed with 31. Kevin Love, the most recent player to do that. He did it 14 years ago when he was still a member of the Minnesota Timberwolves. And then also tied with Dikembe and Dennis Rodman. So shout out to him. Zubac. Wait, who did twice this season? Yusuf? No way. Oh, you'd be on the list still if you did. This is like a recent list. Fans Fest. That's the next subject line. So I didn't get a chance to talk about this, but because I was in Vegas. Oh, 12 and a quarter. Got it. No, because I mean, if Nurkic hit 31 twice in the season, he would have been on the list. That list was updated like as of this morning. I mean, he probably had like a high 20s or something like that. But anyway. Flashfire, I know you were at Fans Fest, which is dope. I of course was still in Vegas. Now, the irony of that, of course, is overwhelming. But in my defense, my wife and I planned our trip to Vegas, this most recent one, well before Fans Fest was even, mentioned. Oh, 12 rebounds in the quarter. Yeah. I agree with that. Yes, he did do it more than once this season. Yes. But anyway, the fact that what estimates are saying between, I would say, like a rough 15,000 people came out for Fans Fest. And this, of course, was 2 Saturdays ago. Awesome. This was out in Jack London Square. And got to give a big shout out to Last Dive Bar in Oakland 68. Been friends with these guys for a long time. And I still feel really bad that I wasn't there to support them. Being an A's fan, and especially in the situation, and like I said, felt really bad that I was in Vegas during the time when this was going on. But this is kind of the story of my life. Like, I'm always busy, or I'm always doing something anytime a fans fest is going on. And the fact that the Oakland A's have not themselves held a fan fest in any capacity since pre 2020 is absolutely insane. And the fact that the fans have been the ones that have had to do this. really goes to show like how dedicated the people of Oakland or the people of the East Bay and the surrounding areas are about keeping the A's in Oakland. Like no matter what the ownership or jackass president and communications director, blah, 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 say, or even what Manfred says, because that guy sucks. Um, A's fans are loyal as fuck. Like we would rather just flat out stop supporting the product than deal with this bullshit that's going on. And that's why I'm looking forward to March 27th, which is opening day against the Cleveland Guardians. And we are going to party in the parking lot during the game. We are flat out, it is a additional reverse boycott that we're doing. So yes, we'll pay to park our cars and, because then we'll have the right to be there. But none of us are going into the game. Like I know some people are, but we're our hope at the end of this is that we will have more people outside in the parking lot partying than actually the 28th. My bad. I said 27th. I meant to say 28th. More people partying in the parking lot than actually inside watching the game. So because all of our lives, and especially, I mean, I can't say all of our lives, because like the 80s and early 90s were packed houses for every game. I mean, that was a solid could have been dynasty baseball right there with the Bash brothers and Carney Lansford and Ricky Henderson and Dennis Eckersley, etc. I mean, I'll probably go there on the 27th. I was kidding. And then once Walter Hass died in the mid 90s, that's when everything changed. And the direction of the team has never been consistent. The whatever ownership that we've had, and we've gone through, three systems of ownerships essentially after Walter Hass passed away. And not a single one of them wants to put a championship caliber team on the field. And so, it shied us away like a lot of games. Like if they do like solid promotions like Bart Wednesdays, which they got rid of, uh, discussion about, Philadelphia, the Phillies getting rid of Dollar Dog Night. I don't remember the last time the A's had a Dollar Dog Night. Like I know for a fact that they did, when I was still in college, but beyond that, I have no idea. But stuff like that just isn't done. I mean, we didn't have any player bobblehead nights last year just because the team is so poorly run and can't put this stuff together. So I don't know, man. I'm stoked by what these guys were able to accomplish and the big names. I mean, they got Trevor May out there, they got Coco Express, Grant Balfour came out, and a bunch of other former players. It was awesome. I wish I could have been there. And Flash, I'm so glad you got to go and experience that. And the photos you took were incredible. I didn't use any. I'm sorry. I was in a hurry and so I had to grab a few. But yeah. Ben Grieve, Mike Norris, Bill North. I almost said Ben Grieve and I doubted myself on that one for some stupid reason, and I should have just said it. But anyway, Lee Mina says, if I wasn't flying home from Vegas, I'd totally go to that just to see it on the 28th. See Ben in his natural habitat. Dude, I'm going to be tanked. Tanked that game. Woo! Can't wait. Moving on, NBA. Here's your rankings right now. Pacers fall to 8. It's killing me right now. Like since the All-Star break, things have not been going great. But Celtics keep dominating. They had their third win of the season of 50 plus or more, of course, against the Warriors. But yeah, they're looking good. I still don't think they're going to win the title this year, but that's just me. Zombie Sonics up at top in the Western Conference. That blows my mind. And that's another team that I hope to God does not win a championship, at least until the Supersonics come back. Then at that point, it's just like, do whatever the hell you want. But the entire existence of the Seattle Supersonics not existing and Oklahoma City being a dominant team, I can't stand it. Can't stand it. Anyway, EPL, I got to bring this up real quick. I'm going to go quickly through this because I know I'm running long, but I said I was going to run long anyway. So, Liverpool, Man City, Arsenal with a dominant win today. Jesus, 6-0. Aston Villa ran out the top 4. So Wolverhampton down to 10. They swapped places with Chelsea once again, But then again, Chelsea still has a game in hand, so we'll see what happens this week. Sheffield United is who Arsenal beat the crap out of today. Burnley, Luton Town in the bottom three. Nottingham Forest and Everton, several points clear of relegation right now, so good for them. Um, and then, of course, for hockey, that I had to bring up just because the fact that Austin and I did flip the script last week with NHL 24, which was awesome, by the way. I fucking love that game. But the fact that that last game we played, which of course the Leafs were victorious in overtime, and then we had the reality of that this last Saturday, which was absolutely insane. Leafs win in a shootout level of overtime by the score of 4-3. Um, Dude, and we had a fucking fight that game. I didn't watch it. I had to catch the replay because I completely forgot to watch it. Sorry, David. I know you're a Rangers fan, but had to do it. To which case, I'm gonna put a poll out on Twitter and definitely want to poll you guys on Discord of what we should play next for Flip the Script tomorrow, because we still have FIFA 24 and we still have NBA 2K 24 to cycle through as well. But I mean, if you guys had enjoyed yourself with the NHL 24, like I personally am not against like doing that again. So I thought it was a lot of fun. NHL 94 Rewind. I'll be on board with that. But yeah, here's your hockey standings right now. Panthers just absolutely dominating everybody. And it was crazy because like the last 10 games for the Leafs, and I know I always talk about my teams, but there's a point to this. In the last 10 games, the Leafs have gone 9-1-0. So 9 wins, 1 loss, 0 overtime losses. Um, but so did the Panthers. Like, what the hell, man? Like, I don't get it. And I mean, granted, it is technically the same Panther squad that we got last season that was an 8 seed and just dominated their way through the Eastern Conference. But they were clearly a much better team, which we're seeing right now. But the notable part about this and why I'm talking about the Leafs more specifically, besides being my team, is before that 10-game run, the Leafs were sitting in the 7 seed. And here they are now in the 4 seed. So hell of a fucking turnaround of the season. And all it took was Morgan Riley cheap shotting a dude on the Ottawa Senators after that slap shot open net goal. Turn the season around, baby. Winnipeg Jets and Dallas Stars, of course, top in the Central Division in the West. Vancouver Canucks dominating the Pacific Division. All right. So here's the gambling part that I wanted to talk to. And I was, we obviously talked a lot about gambling to start the show, but we're going to be ending on even more gambling right now. Dude, come on. MLS season just started. Like, let's give it a few games before I get like deep into that. The Canucks were indeed mentioned, and the Canucks are going to get mentioned again here momentarily. So this was from Thursday morning. So not this most recent Thursday, but the previous Thursday. So this is from my wife and I time in Vegas. And these were the first bets that I placed. I'm doing more stuff in the app now because I for some reason got logged out of it and I don't know why. But anyway, things are better now. So I threw down an NHL bet because my wife and I went to the Maple Leafs Vegas Golden Knights game that night. So I had to put something together. And I asked my friend Aaliyah, who lives in Alberta, and her dad used to play in the NHL. And she always does pretty well with like making bets on hockey and stuff like that. And so hey, I was gonna say I haven't been lagging, which is phenomenal. So it must have been just the initial start, but I got a new modem so that it's clearly doing well. Anyway, so I asked her like to look at the schedule and like, okay, hey, make some picks for me. I want to put a bet in for some hockey and kind of see what happens. And so for that Thursday, because I mean, she knew I was going to pick the Leafs over the Knights. I mean, I was going to do that anyway because it's my team. But she had said, yep, Avalanche over the Red Wings, Bruins over the Flames, Canucks over the Kraken. And then for some dumbass reason, I put the Phoenix Suns over the Dallas Mavericks. I don't know why. And then my wife decided to bet the exact opposite on every fucking pick, which actually would have netted a pretty good chunk of change if it hit. But what ended up happening was my wife, for whatever reason, decided to put Knights over Maple Leafs because literally every other pick on that ticket that she picked the exact opposite of hit. The Red Wings beat the Avalanche, the Flames beat the Bruins, Kraken beat Canucks, the Mavericks beat the piss out of the Suns. Um, I mean, we're talking like a couple $100 that she could have won if she would have picked the Maple Leafs instead of the Knights. Like that one blew my mind that she did that. But anyway, the most notable one, I'm gonna skip this one in the middle. This was a long shot one between Washington State over Arizona, Ohio State over Minnesota, Cal State Bakersfield over Long Beach State. I'll get into that one in a sec, but I want to talk about this one. So $5 in the payout. So I had taken Maple Leafs over the Knights, Cal State Bakersfield over Long Beach State, Washington State over Arizona, Oregon over Stanford. Now, a lot of you think I'm crazy when I just make these absolutely insane, absurd picks. It's low buy-in, but a very high reward at the end. Um, but anyway, that last pick, that last bet that I put in, the Leafs, Cal State, Bakersfield, Washington State, Oregon. Um, I actually put research into these picks. Yes, they are crazy, but there is logic behind them. Much in the same sense of this one I kind of skipped over in the middle between Cal State, Bakersfield, Ohio State, Washington State. The reason why I made these picks is because all of these games, with the exception of the Maple Leafs, all these games, the two teams played each other earlier in the season, and the team that I bet on had won. So Cal State Bakersfield to beat Long Beach State back on February 1st by the score of 82-76. Ohio State had beaten Minnesota back on December 3rd, 84-74. So the fact that it's like, okay, in these positions, for whatever reason, the team that had previously won is now the underdog. Yes, of course I'm going to bet on that because it just seems like that's easy money. Now, the shitty part about this particular bet, not the middle one, but the one on the far right with the Leafs, Cal State, Bakersfield, Washington State, Oregon, is I only missed it on one pick, and that was fucking Cal State, Bakersfield. Otherwise, $5 would have turned into a sweet $740. But my wife, being the genius that she is, because here's us, of course, at that Maple Leafs Knights game. Uh, there's us, of course. And final score in that game, of course, was 7-3. Awesome game. It was pretty much over as soon as puck dropped because of the 4-0 first period, which was amazing. Mr. Walker 54, what's going on, bro? Um, so I bought the tickets from my friend Alex, and he wanted me to pay cash, which was fine. So I didn't have enough cash on me at the time, but my wife, definitely did. So she paid it. She paid for the tickets, like 150 for the tickets, which was cool. Because on the resale market, it would have been like twice as much money. And I was gonna pay her back later because I still wanted some, cash left over from gambling. But my fee essentially to my wife for her to pay for these tickets was I had to place 2 bets for her, and if she won, she got to keep the money. I feel like that was a very fair transaction involved right there. And the 2 picks that she wanted me to make was, 1, Maple Leafs money line, cool. And second one was Maple Leaf spread. Because the spread in the game was Maple Leafs by 2, but 1.5. So as you can see by the 7-3 score, it cashed in. Um, there we go. Boom, boom. So I owed my wife $14 right there. But the crazier one, so going back to, sorry, I got to go back. So back to the far right ticket where I had Maple Leafs, Cal State, Bakersfield, Oregon, and Washington State winning. I decided to do the same bet minus goddamn Cal State, Bakersfield, because I had a feeling like, okay, there's a chance that the Roadrunners might botch this for me. But I was feeling really good about Oregon. I was feeling really good about the Maple Leafs. And because Washington State had put a punk on Arizona earlier, like not even like that far out from this most recent game. I felt good about it. And Maple Leafs won, Oregon won handily. I think Oregon beat Stanford by like 15. And we're in the sports book at Park MGM, and I'm just like frustrated because Washington State's up by 5. And I know Steven Seabright watched the end of this game. Like the last 30 minutes of time, which was like in basketball time is 30 minutes, but in like game time, we're talking about like the final 4 or 5 minutes of the actual game. Dude, stressful as fuck. Because I could have cashed out, whatever. I didn't. I stuck with it. And sure enough, Washington State won. So there. You all think I'm crazy for the bets that I make, but occasionally I put the right one together. I'll get rid of some certain details that were, I feel like are going to screw me, some speed bumps, whatever. And occasionally they pay off. So $5 bet got me $217. Not too shabby. My wife says all my best slot hits at Park MGM have come while you're sweating it out at the sports book. I love it. See, it's a win-win. Compromise relationship right there. Yes, babe, you did tune out for a second, but I already talked about how if you would have I talked about your opposite bets and the fact that you bet on the Knights instead of the Leafs was your downfall on that. Otherwise, you would have won a lot of money. Um, Moving on. So I'm feeling good. So then we go into the next day. I got to throw some college basketball bets in. Sweet. So once again, I look at the history between these teams that are playing. I mean, this is like degenerate college basketball gambling right here. First up, Yale versus Cornell, St. Peter's versus Mount St. Mary's, and IPFW versus Wisconsin Green Bay. It's a $5 bet, would have gotten me $50 if it would have hit. Ironically, the one that fucking screwed me in this one was Yale. And Yale lost by 2 goddamn points. St. Peter's won, IPFW won, but Yale pissed it away in the last 2 minutes of the game. F that, man. F that. Um, and then the worst. Oh god, I'm still just pained about this one. The worst was this is the screenshot that I had sent Steven the night before. So this was not this most recent week of English Premier League, but the previous. Wait, Flashfire says, what you get for betting on Ivy League teams?" Yeah, I know that, but there wasn't like a ton of college basketball going on, so I had to bet on who was playing. So, this is hands down one of the most insane soccer bets that I've ever put together, and of course, I did it as a 5-leg parlay. Some of you guys saw this on my Instagram story and Twitter and stuff like that, and I'm still just pissed at myself for all this. So, I decided to keep it 5 legs. I don't know why. But I did Aston Villa over Nottingham Forest. I feel like that was an easy one. Uh, and I've said this multiple times before when betting on soccer. The odds are more insane if you try to bet on a tie. And of course, I did it a couple times. Brighton and Hove Albion versus Everton. I predicted a tie in that. Manchester City over AFC Bournemouth. I predicted a tie in Arsenal versus Newcastle. And then for whatever goddamn reason, I predicted Fulham over Manchester United. What I didn't know at the time when I put the bet in is that because the game was at Old Trafford, Fulham versus Manchester United, I didn't realize Fulham had not beaten Manchester United at Old Trafford since 2003. Like, I'm just throwing shit together. And then not to mention the previous time it happened was like the 1960s. So only 2 times in Old Trafford's existence had Fulham ever beaten Manchester United. So that was an insane one to throw together. But here's what happened. I did do research, but I didn't do as much research on the soccer. The soccer one, I just went based on results from earlier in the season, which, to be honest, kind of panned out. So Aston Villa took care of business against Nottingham Forest. That was the easy one. And granted, all these games took place at like 7 a.m. West Coast time. and my wife and I were out gambling like super late. There was no reason for me to be awake, but for some goddamn reason, I woke the hell up out of a drunken stupor sleep and at the worst possible time. But anyway, um, so I got to zoom in on this. So here we are, 75 minutes into each game. Aston Villa, of course, was already dominating 4-2. So BHA Everton, I said it was going to be a tie. So around the 74th or 73rd minute, Everton scored. So that looks terrible for me. And then Fulham was up on Manchester United, which was great. But that tie, because I predicted for Everton BHA, didn't seem like it was happening. And then not too long after that, BHA got a red card. So now they got 10 players on the field for the rest of the game. What are the chances they're going to fucking score a goal and tie this game up? Not likely. So, the payout if all 5 of these legs would have hit would have been $1,114 on a $5 bet. So, what does my idiot ass do? I cashed out. At a point where I got $13 on a $5 bet. But what ends up happening is absolutely insane. So 81st minute, like I said, Everton was winning. It was 1-0. I didn't realize how many minutes of stoppage time they're going to be in that game. But here we are in the 5th minute of stoppage time, and BHA ties it up against Everton, and that's the final score. So I predicted tie correctly, but I cashed out. So screwed myself on that one. And then it gets worse. Harry Maguire for Man United had scored in the 89th minute for Manchester United. And 7th minute of stoppage time, Fulham scores. And for the second time ever in Old Trafford history, Fulham fucking wins the game against Manchester United. So I went from absolutely bricking on that bet, and I wimped out and cashed out at $13 to I hit those 2 legs after the fact. And here's where we're looking at right now. Yeah, 3 out of 5. And then Manchester City versus AFC Bournemouth. Oh, what's going to happen there? Oh, of course, Man City wins exactly as I predicted. Oh, Christ. No, it was I don't know why. Like I said, I wasn't watching the games. I was still in bed just watching, numbers change on my phone. And when I was given the cash out option in positive money, that's exactly why I took it. If I would have known how much stoppage time was going to be added on for either of those games, I probably would have had a different opinion. But more specifically, and this is why I talked about the drunken stupor and waking up at 7 in the morning. The better solution would have been if my ass was still asleep and didn't even watch or know anything about these games until they finished. Because my alarm was set for like 9:30. Like, I have no idea why I woke up. I didn't want to be awake. I was hoping to wake up after those first 3 games ended and just be surprised. Um, that would have been the better solution. But obviously that didn't happen and I wimped out, and a very hard lesson was learned there because even if I didn't cash out, I'm sure my cash out option before the final leg, which was Arsenal versus Newcastle, and I bet them to tie. My cash out option at that point probably would have been like $500 or $600, if not more. Um, so yeah, I totally picked correctly, but I wimped out. And sure enough, Arsenal beat the living piss out of Newcastle. And my wife was unconscious and too hungover to stop me from making these decisions. So, the fact that I still won money off this bet is good because otherwise it would have just been a hard 0 if I would just let it play through, because the Arsenal leg would have killed me. But like I said, if I would have at least gotten to those first 4 games, the cash out offer I would have gotten would have been substantial. at least until Arsenal scored. Then things would have been dicey. So I don't know. But the lesson learned here is don't wimp out. Just play it. Just play the bet out. So that was my bet on that. Anyway, here are my picks from the previous week. I went 3 out of 4. The Brighton versus Everton game was supposed to be a draw. I forgot to write it in as such, but obviously I bet on it, so that's my proof that I knew what I was talking about. Did not figure that Stephen F. Austin versus Utah Valley would have screwed me, but they did. And once again, that was a game where Stephen F. Austin had played Utah Valley earlier in the season and beat them, and then couldn't do it a second time. So what the f? What are the green checks? Sorry, I'll go back to that. So the green checks are, um, it was a successful bet. So even though I cashed out, as it says up top there, screw you, pal. Screw you. Screw you and your sarcasm. Anyway, moving on to my picks for this week. So my lock of the week is this weekend's Arsenal versus Brentford game. Yeah, it's probably an easy win for Arsenal, but more specifically, they've been just absolutely pounding teams lately by at least putting up 4 goals. So I got to stick with that. I've got the Canucks over the Kings tomorrow. I've got the Sacramento Kings over the San Antonio Spurs on what is that? Thursday? Friday? Thursday. And this Saturday, college basketball, Utah State Aggies over New Mexico. That one probably should have been my lock of the week, more so over Arsenal. So we can just flop those around if you guys want to do it mentally, whatever. But yeah, man, that's the show for this week. You know, like I said, I had to make up for blowing it off last week by accident. And so now we're back in line. We're back in line. Every Monday, I'm back, baby. Except for except for the 18th, because I'll be in Vegas with Steven still. And we don't get back till like late that night. So I'll have to do the show on Thursday. Mr. Walker 54 can oh yeah, give me a bet. Give me a bet. I won't be able to place it because being in California, I can't do sports gambling here. But Mr. Walker says UConn women's plus 500 future lock city. If I get I don't disagree with that. Dude, I would even say actually UConn men's is a possibility. I might have to parlay that together, just do a men's and women's. I mean, considering the fact that it has happened in the last 2 teams to go men's and women's in college basketball, it was UConn. Shout out to Mika Okafor. Um, Southside Steamer says 2-man Pac-12 update hotel show. Does that mean I'm gonna have to bring all this equipment with me to Vegas? I didn't really want to do that, but I guess we could. Loganer says, we going back to the mornings on Monday once daylight saving hits? Hell no, man. I like doing the evening show better. I don't want to wake up ass early in the morning and rub my eyes and think I can say anything coherent about sports. Although I kind of fail more so in the afternoon hours as well. But I feel like the afternoon is just like I can go longer and I'm not like stressed out, like, oh, I got to finish up because I have a meeting in like 10 minutes kind of a situation. So Logan says, is the men's tournament being played in Texas? Because if not, I'm fading UConn men's future. It's in Phoenix, Arizona, dude. So it's kind of a tough one. But no, I'm looking forward to getting back in Vegas, betting on like every game for the Pac-12 tournament, not to mention like every other conference tournament that's going to be going on. And then yeah, then St. Patrick's Day is that Sunday, which is also Selection Sunday. It's gonna get lit that day. Because then obviously you're gonna have to put some brackets together and stuff like that. So might have to do like I feel like we did it last time where we did like a group bracket. Might have to do that again. Logan says, I'm only saying that because I think the last few men's wins are when the final 4 was in Texas. That's actually a good call. It's a really good point. Southside says, let me see your Pac-12 bet so I can do the opposite. You're a fucking jerk. You're gonna be like next to me when I'm making these bets, so of course you'll be able to see them. Anyway, um, I think that does it. I feel like I've gone long enough. I've gone what 95 minutes here. Should I make a full century? Go 5 more? Yeah, why not? Um, yeah, so next Monday, I'll give you like when I do bench warmers again, I will give you guys the preview of like what I'm looking at bets wise. Because on top of that, then the regular season should technically be over, and then the seating should be set up for like all the conference tournaments and stuff. So I'm looking forward to seeing how that's going to shake out. Southside Steven Sears asks, Hack Club Pick'em happening again. Funny you mentioned that because Ugly Man Chief actually started a an email about that this morning asking the exact same question. It looks like it's going to happen. So keep your eyes and ears open, eyes, ears, mouths, orifices open for details on that. We'll let you guys know pretty soon. Flashfire says, from what I've been told, we will be doing a March Madness tourney in the Discord again. Hell yeah, we are. Because Steven, weren't you like dominating that like for like the majority of the season? I feel like I remember that correctly. And then I can't remember which team it was like totally slipped you up. I know it wasn't Purdue. Logan Hurst says, also because I walked away and had this on the background. What you're telling me in the what you're telling me the outlandish bet that you had as a lock didn't hit. Southside says for like 4 rounds. Yeah, dude, that's what I remember. You just like lighting it up. Um I think we're still gonna put the 100 hats on the line for a perfect bracket if I read the email correctly. So I don't know. Hopefully, I can put a better bracket together this year because my one last year was not spectacular, and I know a lot of it just had more to do with the fact that I was on the road to New York like pretty much all throughout March, so I was like burned out and didn't have enough time to study or anything like that. But this year, I've been doing a lot more studying, keeping up on my college hoops. So yeah, I'm gonna take you guys to the woodshed. I'll put it that way. Got to make it 25 hats if you're a perfect up to the Elite Eight. I've had a bracket that was perfect up to the Elite Eight at one point in when I was in college. It was the year that, so I think this was '08 when North Carolina beat Michigan State in the national championship. I actually had a perfect Elite Eight. Oh God, how did it shake out? I had a perfect Elite Eight. I think my Final Four was perfect, but I picked Michigan State over North Carolina. And I only missed like 3 or 4 picks that year. And of course, they were all first round, and only one game or one of those games affected me into the second round. And that was it. Then I was just like clean slate all the way through the national championship. And god damn. Flashfire says, "Oh, did you see the dude that had all the Westbrook jerseys on all at once?" Yeah, I've seen that guy numerous times. Like he's got a ton of Clipper jerseys. Like he always does that. But it's kind of funny. Oh, from Taiwan. Maybe I'm thinking of a completely different guy. I thought you were talking about a guy at the Clipper game. Because there's like every time I've gone to a Clipper game, there's always been a guy who's just like taking the jerseys off one by one, like during like a TV timeout or something like that. I mean, shit, I got enough Clipper jerseys right here to pull that off. Okay, I'll look at that and I'll save it for next week's show. Got 20 seconds left. What's the last thing we're gonna end on? Besides flip the script tomorrow, 4:30 p.m. Pacific, 7 p.m. Eastern. And thank God the 10th daylight savings. I'm tired of this. Tired of this being off by an hour from Arizona. It's the worst. Having to wake up earlier for all my meetings and stuff. But anyway, that's how we're gonna end it. See you guys tomorrow for Flip the Script. And of course, Wednesday, we got a big show for recap. Hope to see you guys then. As always, take it easy. And if you don't, take it sleazy. Peace.